round 3 of a 4-round roulette championship on Friday. And what better venue than Mount Panorama in Bathurst, Australia, to play host to the rubber round. Hello, everybody. I'm Jesse Lee, joined by Phil Roberts for the broadcast here today. We are at the mountain. It is a track that is impossible to tame. It's a track that'll chew you up and spit you out, but more importantly, it is a track that has reworked BOP since the last time we've been here. Phil Roberts, we're going to see a completely different host of cars up at the front of this grid than we would have done a month and a half ago.
I wasn't even aware there was a box change around here. That shows you how much I pay attention to the box changes in this game, to be honest. But I know you make a good point about Bathurst. It's certainly one of those tracks where you think you got the upper hand over it, and it always just throws a little curveball at you. And obviously, around Bathurst, particularly as you climb up the mountain, it certainly doesn't take any prisoners, with the barrier pretty much right next to the track. So, little on other tracks where like a little mistake leads to a visiting the gravel track, making some sandcastles. This time, make a mistake and you'll end up in the barrier somewhere.
Yeah, you certainly will. Mount Panorama is a track that doesn't play around. Coming up through the park section, particularly devastating if you get it wrong. All it takes is being a couple of millimeters off, and that's all you have to be. Why? Because you run millimeters to the wall. That's how close you get in this section, and you've got to go that quick to make sure you keep up your momentum and you don't leave any time out on the table. Coming through Skyline now in the S's section, very easy to get wrong. And we talk a little about the BOP. The BOP change I'm on about is the one that came in with the 1.9.3, or maybe it was 9.4. One of those updates changed some of the BOP around, and here has been quite noticeable. Lamborghini, that's always been quite good here, is now somewhat of the dominant car. We're talking about 280 Ks down the straight on a full tank of fuel. That's absolutely insane. The Audi, though, might be the car to beat on the straight. 283 plus on a full tank of fuel. If you want a sort of a compare and contrast of what used to be possible, the M6 gets around here at about 281, 282 was the old maximum. Everything's changed. Everything's completely different. Lamborghini, though, looking to continue to do damage here today. Speaking of, Marvin Steer, the first to set a representative lap time, immediately beat by Benjamin Heilman, a 2-minute 3.90, and everybody else now filtering through. Zoricic comes in at a 2.25. Jordan Daly comes in at a 5.67. Everybody else coming in. Joe Dahlberg at a 5.77. Kind of close up at the top after lap 1.
Yeah, very close indeed. About, well, as you say, about 2 temps split in the top 3, and then there's a bit of a chasm between that 3rd and 4th. But Bathurst, very southern, and Bathurst is a bit, how do you want to put it? It's a bit of a confidence track, I'd say, Jesse Lee. Like, you know, we talk about before about like how this mountain will claim you if you underestimate it. But obviously, if you just are timid on the mountain's just not going to give you any just rewards for being brave. Like some of these guys are, those Reese Wilkinson, they're very, very close to the barriers. I think we brought it up before, Jessica Lee, you have to be millimeters away from the barriers, particularly through this section, just through McPhilly Park and go to Skyline into the S's. Some of these tracks, or these corners around this track, you have to be right up to the curb. It's a bit like I don't want to say a high-speed Monaco, but that's the best way I can describe it in layman's terms, I guess. Like they go really close to the barriers around Monaco, so do they around Bathurst. So there's obviously a bit more. Let's just say it's a bit more high octane around Bathurst than it is around Monaco, I'd say.
Yeah, it's one of those racetracks where to get everything out of the track, you got to maximize everything. You see people take weird lines at Monaco you normally wouldn't take at a normal racetrack. That's simply because you're trying to avoid the barriers and not give up any sort of speed. That's kind of what you do here. And so many of those first laps were nice representative laps, I would say. A couple of them not so much. Reese Wilkinson, one of those cars that I didn't quite think got a full representative lap. They did a 3.88. their last time through, and they're coming through now, and they've done a 3:3:70. So they're still the better part of 3 seconds off of the overall pace, but they're getting there. They're working up to it. Joachim Shelgren goes across the line and sets a representative lap time of their own, a 2-minute 8:02, good enough for the second row thus far. Stephen Quee ran a 8:47. That will slot them into 5th place, and everybody, including Quee and everybody in front of them, has run a 2-minute dead lap. Everybody behind is 2-minute 1 and lower. More cars have yet to set a time, including this man, Christoph Verstreppen, as he comes down the straight. I am quite curious. That wasn't the one. I was quite curious what he was hitting down through here, and you will have to forgive me. I am doing the cameras and talking at the same time.
I think last time I checked, Jesse, he was about 285, 283.
Yeah, this is the yardstick, people. This is the car. This Audi is absolutely insane. I have no idea why he's not running a Verstreppen Racing livery or Verstreppen Motorsport livery or anything here in this championship. He isn't. It doesn't matter. It's the first 59, a 59.725.
I was going to say, Jesse, next time we see Kevin Boston, the 31, down the Conrod, I think we should have a look at the speedo on that Nissan. I think he was hitting like 2.9 something last time. But yeah, I think when we talk about like high speed or how fast we're, you can just about see the speedometer on the dashboard there, just in the lower right of the dashboard. But yeah, there's 2 different theories, I guess, around Bathurst. Is either the high speed low drag setup, you gain all that time through the Conrod straight towards the end of the lap, or between turns 1 and 2, Hell's Core, and a bit embarrassing, I forgot what turn 2 was called now, but yeah, there's 2 significant bits of track you can get around there, and then you just lose all that time over the mountain. Or the other theory is obviously going having that higher downforce, play a bit safe, and have that downforce over the mountain section, try and gain it back that way. Both equally valid, but I think the high-speed one tends to work better in the race, particularly if you're ahead of a higher downforce car. You can defend yourself quite easily through these narrow sections up and over the mountain, and then just run away down the straights. So while the high downforce option is probably safer, it's not. It's one of those ones that you probably, yeah, as you see the end of the run back, they're good. Go off just at the exit and you feel any part, you'll have to gather himself up again and do another lap. But yeah, so just to finish the point, Jesse Lee, like with a higher downforce setup, you're probably looking to just not mistake people. Because I think that's where most people will gain positions on the around this track, is just by making as little mistakes as possible.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Just driving to a number, driving to a safety point. Now, whenever that is, that's rather up to you more often than not, what your car will let you do, what you're capable of doing, of course, as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what everybody's limit is here today. We've seen quite a bit of limit gathering information coming into our box. I would say more than half of the field invalidating their laps on any given lap through. Shelgren 2 laps ago came through and ran a 2-minute 1:77. That puts them on the front row of the grid opposite the current provisional pole sitter, or Christoph Verstreppen in the Audi. And look at Joe Dauber in the Honda doing quite well, not on a valid lap here, but a 2-minute 5:77, their quickest, and in a Honda. This place has been favorable, one of the few places that has been favorable to the Honda over the years. The other one I can think of is Suzuka, but perhaps not anymore. But still, being able to get it done here in this car, quite impressive as well.
Yeah, I'd say the Honda's has not become out of favour so much. I think you had a bit of a renaissance of sorts during the, was it the America DLC? I seem to remember a lot of people really enjoyed driving the Honda around the new America, well, I say new, but the Kings Glen, Indy, and Kota. I think the Honda had a bit of a renaissance during that time, but I think since 1.9 it's sort of I wouldn't say disappeared, but I haven't seen that many Hondas used competitively. At the top end of APC.
The Honda, a car that we call the Acura NSX here in the States, it has favorable VOP, or it did at the time. That's a good memory.
Is Acura just technically Honda, Jesse Lee, or is it like its own separate brand?
It is its own company. Acura is its own company. It's not a tuning company. It's its own company. It's considered the luxury brand of Honda, in the same way that Lexus is that for Toyota. That's what it's considered.
Infiniti is for Nissan, or is Infiniti not a Nissan associated brand?
I feel like that could be true.
My American car knowledge is pretty bad. I remember Lexus's luxury Toyotas. I don't.
Yes.
Well, I can't remember what Acura was. I remember it was something to do with Honda.
Acura. You were right. Acura is Honda's version of that, and it's quite interesting. We get primarily in the U.S. domestic market the same cars that you get in Europe, except that a lot of them are badged Acura. Now, keep in mind, we still get the same Civics, Accords, stuff like that you lot get. And those are the exact same cars, except our steering wheel's on the right side. But beyond that, it is the same exact car. It's not even an Acura, it's a Honda.
The engineer in me screaming that there's regulatory differences between Europe and...
Oh, there's absolutely... Well, yeah.
Europe, well,
actually,
technically...
crumple zones and all sorts.
Well, technically, I think it's... There's a few things that we share. Well, we're having... I mean, the main bit of qualifying, we'll talk about the car regulations, but I think there's a lot of things we do share, but there's a few things that the two markets don't. We joined Jordan Daly down the Conrods here. We should be reaching about 282.
I'm going to say 287.
Oh, 285, I think. I think is it. Yeah, there you go. 285 just before he hits the brakes. So BMW's not a slouch around here, Jesse. I always thought the M4 was not a safe pick, but it's certainly it's not. I wouldn't have thought it had a reputation for being fast in a straight line, though. But yeah, Jordan Daly proved us wrong, of course, in the M4 that he took to ITAL victory, or at least a clean sweep in that ITAL championship, wasn't it, Jesse?
Sure was. One of the most dominant runs we had ever seen up until that point. Several cars going quicker. Benjamin Heilman has dipped inside the 59s. The second car to do so, a 59.920, puts him opposite pole position. And Joe Dalber looking to improve quite heavily, and did. It's a 2.320 for Joe Dalber there. Heilman not done yet on a lap that, if he's able to complete it, might trouble pole position. He's got a quarter of a second in the bank, and that's just about what he needs to get to the line with to potentially knock Chris Verstappen to the other side of the first row of the grid. Can he do it? One more corner left to go. Lap traffic playing quite nicely here with less than 20 seconds to go. If Heilman has fuel, he could technically do another lap, and he is going to be required to do one if he wants pole. He doesn't have fuel. He's calling it quits. It was a 59.790. He needed a 59.724. He didn't get it, but it is 65/100ths between first and second place. Jordan Daly has had an interesting week just getting to the racetrack. Had computer issues early in the week. It literally exploded. Had to rebuild it. Ash Bibby, who's in our chat, a personal friend of Jordan Daly, says that there's going to be chaos on the track. Ash, there was chaos in Daly's living room this week. Thank you very much for helping him get back onto the racetrack. He's been reconfiguring all of his settings and everything all week. He's here contesting this championship, and he's found the top of the mountain a bit difficult, but has got it together. Improvements on the last several laps, and he is going to improve here again. It's a 2.112. That doesn't get him any spots on the racetrack, I'm afraid, but it does rather cement him a little bit further up the grid. A lot of cars in that 2-minute dead, 2-minute half bracket. Just outside that, you've got Snooty here, who is on a lap here, up a quarter of a second.
Well, that's a very nice little turn through the chase there. You got to make sure you don't hit that inside curve on the as you turn left. It just pushes the car away and just unsettles. He's about 2 temps up on his time at the minute. Nice little neat through Murray's corner there, 2 temps up, and that's sadly not improved much on his time, but it's certainly consolidated his 7th place ahead of Marvin Steer. Yesterday, next up around the last turn is Huel. He's half a second up, and he's just about managed to get only just behind Ramback now. So we move on to John Razor in the 699. Coming round the last turn, I don't think he's going to improve much. He's just level pegging with his time at the minute, unless he's just going to focus found about a 10 through Murray's corner. That's not bad at all from John Razor. 9th place, very solid lap times. I must admit, anything in the 202s, 201s is pretty good. And today, obviously, it's not, I'd argue, not a sports level. Certainly, I mean, Christopher Streffen's like, what, 59.7 is pretty good. As Zorzic, the last one to go across the track, just about improved. Manages to jump up to 8th place there with a, well, I didn't see what the time was then, just silly, but he's 1.1 seconds off pace as grid for today, with Streffen, Heilman take up the front row, Daly and Shelgren, second row, Joe Dorber, Stefan Quee, who we haven't seen much of. I think we've seen a few glimpses of Stefan Quee, but man, even though he's not on the camera, he's certainly very fast around here. In 6th place, Sunil McFluid and Zorizic, as we saw at the very end of the session. Very last minute improvements there, but 7th and 8th. Steer, Eraser make up the top 10, and then Agudelo, Partez, Huel, Ramback, Dos Ramos, Boss, Daniel, Wilkinson, and Bennett wrap up our grid for today, Jesse Lee.
Yeah, it sure does. And close times for a lot of those drivers. Folks, we normally make a decision on who's going to be doing the championship standings. I think, do you want to do rock, paper, scissors for it, Bill, or you just want me to do
I did the grid, Jesse Lee.
So, I see. You did the grid. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here is the championship standings halfway through the series, and there's not a whole lot in it. Benjamin Heilman leads Shelgren by a single championship point. That's absolutely minuscule. We'll see how today plays into that championship fight. Rombach in 3rd place on 88, 2 points behind them. Andy Boardman on 86. Christoph Verstappen has had an up and down season thus far. 80 points to their name in that Audi, looking to do some damage and get back into the championship conversation just inside the top 5 for now. Raphael Huel on 71. Stephen Quee with 65. Snooty McFluid, 57. 1 point behind in 9th. John Razor with 56. Joe Dauber rounds out your top 10 with 53. Outside the top 10, it doesn't get any more easy, does it? All of these drivers within a point or two. Marvin Steer on 52, tied with Partez. I didn't see Partez in the field today, so that may be...
No, he's definitely here.
Oh, he certainly is. I do apologize.
He's P12, Jesse.
Apologize to Partez. Zorisic on 49, Grant Willimon on 48, Mikov, 42 points, Jordan Daly, 26 points, Das Ramos on 25, Kevin Boss, the Dutchman, on 21, Reese Wilkinson, the Welsh driver, with 14 points, Sevink with 11 points, and is there anyone with points? Yeah, you bet there is. Daniels on 10, Aguadello on 9, Niblet on 8. Everybody with a dash has retired from the championship.
It's a point out as well. When I said Partez was P12, I just noticed he's P12 in the championship and P12 on the grid. So consistency aplenty there, Jesse Lee.
Consistency aplenty for sure. You know, you always hate as a racing driver, wherever you are the champ, you want to finish at least one position in front of that because it makes you feel, okay, I'm beating the average. Because at the end of the day, your championship points or wherever you are in the standings is somewhat on average, even though it's a rough approximation. So you never want to be behind that, obviously, because you know you're losing points, but you never want to be tied with it either, because then you're just meeting your own expectation at that point. You want to be one in front, get something out of it, but sometimes, of course, being average might be your ticket. I don't think you're going to see any average driving today at the racetrack. Christoph Verstappen with the pole position, but it was only just over Benjamin Heilman, Jordan Daly, and Shelgren having that next row. All of those names could win this race today. Who's your money on? Phil Roberts.
Oh, well, not to take much away from Verstappen, I just don't trust that Audi at all these days. It's not. But if there's one person that can probably make that thing behave, it's probably Christoph Verstappen. Although I think Audi's going to do Audi things. So what, Jesse, I'm going to go with show my bias. I'm going to go with one of my teammates at Kaiju and say Shelgren's going to take it from P4 on the grid.
Shelgren is going to take it from P4. 19 cars in today's race that beat what we thought. Phil and I were talking before we went live tonight. We reckoned it would be a number fewer than that, simply because it is Bathurst. It's somewhat late into the championship, but still a very strong 19 cars here today. How many of them make it unscathed at the end of lap one?
And unscathed at the end of lap one, not for the whole race.
Just lap one.
Or both. Just lap one. I'm going to say we're probably going to see 2 cars at the most. Not continue after lap one.
I think there's going to be half the field involved in something on the first lap. Reading chat, I love to see it. Bibby out here describing what it was like to tear Daly's PC apart, put it back together. Had it done in 2 hours. Must be a pro, Ash, to be honest. That is incredible.
Also, 2.5 hours is pretty good work there.
Absolutely. So, literally, the voltage regulators were literally smoked. Yeah, I asked Daly quite funnily. I asked Daly.
I think he was shouting at them.
I asked Daly what he reckoned went wrong, or what blew, and he goes, "Well, if I smell the graphics card, it smells bad." And I was like, "Yeah, that checks out."
Bad smells are bad. Bad smells are bad usually in general in most things.
Yeah.
I'd say. It's the universal sign something's wrong if something smells bad.
That was. That's always the telltale sign. If it smells cooked, it's absolutely cooked. We got a fan of Agudelo and Dos Ramos in the chat as well. Hello to you. And I hope your drivers do well this evening. I hope all the drivers do well. As much as we sit here and speculate the carnage, what I'm hoping for, what we're both hoping for the sake of entertainment over the 1 hour race, is that nobody gets involved in any incidents, and it's a good race for an hour, because normally what happens is when there is an accident, it breaks up the action, and it actually ends up being quite a pedestrian race. So what we're hoping for is the opposite of what our prediction is. We're simply going with the knowledge of it is a tough racetrack, and there are 19 cars. That is quite a few. If it had been a few less, they might have been able to get a bit spaced out. By the way, Phil, I'm taking Heilman for the win today.
Well, I think we both have some biased predictions there. As Heilman's Lamborghini going through the oh, he's back. It's fine. I just noticed he was going through the.
He's got German internet. It happens. It always comes back. Except that one time where it didn't. But other than that one time.
Well, we're not all infallible. Internet's the same thing, basically. So yeah. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. I think we're probably going to see hopefully some careful driving through lap one, particularly through the after turn 2. It certainly becomes very difficult to go 2 abreast through up the mountains. So particularly through the cutting, is it the turn 3 and 4? Like, you can go too wide through there, but it's just so risky because the line is just so tight when you go too wide through there. So we'll probably see them, if they have much sense, go in single file after turn 3, but you never know, Jesse Lee.
Yeah, you're always hoping that common sense prevails, but when that carrot's right in front of you and you have the opportunity afforded to you of the potential of positions to be gained, you kind of have to wait, hedge your bets just a little bit, and we hope everybody out there does their level best. You're going to see some cars that are going to be quite strong here on the mountain straight, and of course down through Conrad, and I think the 31 of Kevin Boss, who's somewhere near the back of this field. There he is. Now that is a traditional wheelie slow race car right there. I haven't seen that in an absolute age, but here it is. Folks, just a reminder of how this championship is. This is called Friday Roulette. It's something new that Martin Macha tried with some help from Benjamin Heilman. Apparently, it was Heilman's idea. Each week, a new racetrack, unbeknownst to you, and a brand new car. You can only enter each car in one race. So if you raced a Ferrari last week, you can't do it for the rest of the championship, so on and so forth. And they only get told what track they're going to be at after all the car selections have been made. So all these cars that you see here today were selected blind, not knowing the racetrack, and they haven't driven them thus far this season. And on the finale, in 1 week's time, they'll be driving a completely different car as well. Get some popcorn, get a cold drink, like the stream, like and subscribe. Get ready for racing here on the Friday Roulette Championship. The green flag is down, and it's an easy slide over for Verstappen. Heilman did not get the best launch there, and they're going sideways. They're crashing off into the background. Several Lamborghinis into the wall. The Acura, I believe, of Joe Dauber is also in the wall as well. As the cars continue on, they're single file, the first several of them, and then after that, they are definitely side by side. I think Shelgren got a big piece of that early incident. We'll check back on that in just a little while. Partez in the middle of a fight here with Agudelo. Agudelo trying to get single file, and they do, but Partez into the wall. That's hard contact, rejoining the racetrack, getting back in a line, but now everybody behind them smells a little bit of blood in the water.
Yeah, I think Verstappen learned a bit from last week. He had none of that then, went straight across the block. Heilman's entry into turn one. I think the incident with Daub, I think Daub had a bit of an incident with Shelgren at the start. I think there was a little bit of door banging from both of them, and I think there may have been a little bit of Stefan Quay just having a little bit of a nudge on Shelgren, which is what sent him wide. So it may be, at first glance, looked like a big typical racing incident, Jesse Lee, but without, as we always say, the caveat, without further views, there's no that opinion can change as we see more more views. But yeah, we are right on board with Benjamin Heilman. He's not that far away from Christoph Verstappen. You think that's quite a big gap? It's actually, they're going like nearly they're going 285 kilometers an hour down the straight. So those sort of gaps are quite small in effectively now as Rambach now tries to make his way round Partez. I think Partez, and most of the top 10 is fairly stable. I think Snooty McFluth actually lost a few positions there. He's down in P16, started like what was it, Jesse, like P7, P8. So
yeah, he was definitely up there.
Snooty's had a few position losses. Zorzic, however, he started P8 and he's up into P6 now. So a very good start from the 175 there. As now everything's settled down. We're on to lap 2. Probably going to see some people maybe a bit ambitious with their overtaking, I'd say. But yeah, pit lane's open. And say this is probably the best case for Dauber and Shelgren after their first lap incident. Just get your pit stop out of the way now. You're going to lose so much time behind well, I say slower cars, but you're going to lose so much time behind those drivers towards the back of the field. You might as well just pit now.
That was quick from Shelgren.
Yeah, I don't think he had that much damage actually, or he's not carried that damage with him. I think Dauber's hit the wall a few times going up the mountain, so I think he stopped to repair. But Shelgren's probably had the best pit stop of the lot. Nice, as you say, nice clean air. He's got like a whole sector to himself before he's back up to the, I think that's number 8 of Svenik at the very end of the field. So he's got, what's this now? He's got about 30 seconds behind that car, Svenik. So Shelgren's got pretty much a whole sector to himself, Jesse Lee.
Yeah, he sure does. The battle rages on in the field as these guys try to jockey for position. Those early pit stops, those are valid, and they have been completed. I think you're absolutely right. Shelgren got the better end of the stick there. Daniels wasn't too far behind. Dauber had a little bit of damage to take care of, but even still, a relatively ordinary stop, and that fulfills the requirements of the mandatory stop, just adding a liter of fuel being the only real requirement. You do not have to take tires, and we shan't expect anyone to do that here today. The battle for the lead is not going away. The draft playing a huge role at either end of the race course. They've dropped Jordan Daly just a little bit behind them. It's 2.5 seconds. It's a little bit less than that now, as these two up front end up jockeying for position. Heilman drops the tire. You're going to see a lot of people off of Hell Corner, turn number 1, dropping a tire. Let's go back to the original start of the race here, and we're going to show you the perspective from the 777. That's Joe Dauber. Phil Roberts, tell me what you see.
Well, have a look and see here. It's we're going to see a swamp of cars there. I think Dauber's had a little bit of coming together with Shelgren on the exit there. It may have been that he just put his foot down a bit too early, but there was a bit of understeer from what I could see from Dauber, but there's not really that much you can do in that situation. As you see from on board,
this is Quee.
Stefan Quee. Just in front of us is Dauber. There's a little bit of door banging there from everyone, but I think he may have caught. If I tell you what may have happened is Quee's front left wing may have caught Dauber's rear right bumper or corner, and by turning in accidentally, of course, Quee's inadvertently understeered Dauber into Shelgren. But obviously, those sorts of contacts you can't even really put a penalty to that sort of stuff. And we try not to for purely like accidental things. There's only so much you can expect the driver to do within reason, as Kevin Boss here at the midway down the S's, just losing control of his car there. But I think he's going to have to pit Jesse Lane. Just seen that bonnet come up, so we'll probably see this Nissan in the pit lane for some repairs. There's a Ramback now. I think I saw Clark Ramback going about 290k down the straight, so I think that Ferrari's got some legs. Oh, that's very brave there, and Partez isn't giving this up without a fight. Let's leave Ramback just about enough room. Ramback there, very brave for the chase on Partez, manages to stay within the just about ahead of him as Partez there decides to check out that battle and come straight into pit lane, which is again valid strategy. There's nothing particularly wrong with that. It'll be a good yardstick to see where Shelgren and Dauber are relative to where with Partez, like P10. So we'll see. This would be, like I said, this would be a good time to tell with Shelgren and Dauber are front of the field first lap victims, where their early pit stop will put them. Shelgren's just coming round, but that's calling out. Dauber's only through the chase, so this may be the. I don't think Partez is quite down yet, Jesse. I don't think he's down on his jack. So now he is. So I think Shelgren's just gone past. So Shelgren's probably effectively after pit stops. I think he's about P10, P9 at the minute.
Ryan Daniels gets around.
Yeah, without further things. Partez may have pitted for damage actually, Jesse, if he's lost a few more positions.
Well, let's take a look. This is not the incident with the 31 we saw coming down through Sunset and or not Sunset, excuse me, Skyline, and into the S's. This is a previous incident on lap number 2. This is Kevin Boss in the 31.
Coming through.
All wiggled.
He does have a bit of a wiggle. Remember that? That Nissan has got fairly low wings, so it's probably through these like high-speed turns. There's just a little bit of a nibble there with I think it was Daniel behind in the 11. So there's not really that much.
Oh, Heilman's out in front. Verstappen's second, and Jordan Daly looks like he's got.
Verstappen's got some front end damage as well. Verstappen, Jesse Lane.
Oh, he does. Christoph Verstappen has some significant damage, and I'm going to do something you shouldn't do and show you a full minute of the last 3 plays. And there it is. And there it is.
Somewhere. I mean, it looks like he's got some rear end damage as well. So I think what's happened is he's probably gone through McVillany Park and been playing victim down there, because obviously you lose control of your car through that particular corner. McVillany Park, obviously the left-hander go over Brian Clash just before Skyline. Such violent crashes sometimes through there, Jesse, and that can just be on your own, let alone with another car. But it doesn't look like Heilman's had any contact with Verstappen. His car looks quite clean there, so I'd say he's gone off completely on his own. And unless, because I think Daly's actually caught up a bit with Heilman, so it may be that the incident Heilman's obviously sacrificed time today, Lee, to avoid any damage with Verstappen potentially. But then again, this is the amount of speculating going on here. Jesse Lee's for himself is a bit too much, should we say?
Well, I tell you what, we'll get to the bottom of it before the end of the race, but the story is your pole sitter, Christoph Verstappen, who led the opening 3 or 4 laps, had an incident after the park section here at Bathurst and was into the wall off of the racetrack as they entered Skyline with damage on both ends of that race car. He has repaired it and is down and away, but is in second to last place. That is 18. Benjamin Heilman takes the lead of the race and reasserts himself as the championship leader in the series. And if he wins today's race, it is going to be quite hard for anyone to catch him in the championship standings.
Well, I don't want to put a curse on Benjamin Heilman, Jesse Lee, but I think the last, what is this, round 3? I think, aren't we on round 3 now? Because
it is.
First round, Grant Willamot led the whole race and then had an issue. And then last race, oh, who was it the last race nearly? Oh, it was Verstappen, wasn't it? And then he had a computer crash. So what we learned from this championship so far was just the amazing, large sample of 2 races that first place is cursed until the very last lap.
Certainly would appear like that. A couple of housekeeping things. Hello to you, Joe Gleason. We're glad that you're with us today, although your last message is absolute cap. Also, welcome Ash Bibby to the RCI supporters. Thank you for no comms team with me, and it is going to be the number 1 comms team. RCI TV supporter Ash Bibby, welcome to the supporters section, and thank you for being a member of RCI TV. We do appreciate it, and as we tell anybody who joins the supporters, those sort of memberships and stuff, that goes straight back into RCI. Nobody earns a salary out of RCI. It's a community driven thing, so that will go into making the servers run as good as they possibly can. But more than anything, thank you for joining us as a supporter. We don't push things like that simply because we don't like I said, nobody's making a salary here, so there's no reason to push that. We're just a community. So but it is really cool when people do that. And yeah, I think it comes with emotes or something. I'm pretty sure that it's been quite a while since I've been venturing into that sort of thing. But
we're not one of those channels that encourages super chats. Just is that what you're saying?
I mean, they can do, and I'll acknowledge them.
You're not obliged to read them out.
I mean, I will do. If somebody was to super chat, I'd say it. I'd say whatever.
Within reason.
No, I mean, if it was a bit colorful, I'd just expletive deleted it for them. But I'll do that for you. That's the kind of service you get here at RCI TV on a Friday. If you're watching, if you joined us tonight, thank you for joining us on a Friday evening. I hope wherever you are in the world, you're having a good evening and you're enjoying the race thus far. It's been action-packed the first 15 minutes. We haven't even made it 15 minutes. We've already seen the leader have incidents. It's a long old way to the barn here tonight. Is that a saying in Britain, Phil?
No, I've never heard. Long way to the barn.
Yeah. Do you have any idea what that means?
No, I have no idea what that means. I've never heard it before.
The non-American translation is a long way to the barn means it's a long way to home. It's a long way to the end.
Right.
Because if you're a farmer, the last thing you do when you're done working for the day is you put everything up in the barn. You go to the barn.
I mean, a barn's not a shed. You don't really put all your tools back in the barn. But,
a shed's not big enough to put your tractor.
No, it's not, but
park a tractor.
You put your tractor. I don't think farmers put their tractor in the barn. I mean, usually tractors. No, they're usually left outside.
I mean, yeah, industrial tractors. But if you have like a smaller tractor.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. One of those ones about a cab lid. I was going to say I watched a video about American and British lingual terms, and I didn't realise that you lot had like 4 different ways of saying roundabout. Like you call it a circle, a rotary. I've seen a few states call it a roundabout. What do you call it in your state, Jesse Lee? Or don't you have them in your state?
Uh, yeah, I've told you this story before. It's on my when I was 14 and a half, which is the age in which you can get a license in my state.
Or for tractors? Or
Oh,
cars?
no, for cars. You don't
Okay.
you don't need a license to drive a tractor on private land. Anyway, uh, part of the driving test is how to navigate a roundabout. And quite confusingly to some, there are places in America that call roundabouts squares, despite the fact
Squares?
that they're circular.
Right. Okay.
Isn't that weird?
Um,
Isn't that
I
odd?
I was gonna say one of the weirdest things I've ever seen, and this is new. This is granted. This is New Jersey.
Oh, I
Roundabout
like the
rules.
accent.
But apparently, like on certain circles or rotaries, what we wouldn't call them, you give way to traffic on. Or, sorry, the traffic on the rotary has to give way to traffic that's trying to come on, which sounds absolutely foreign to me because that's the opposite of how they work usually. Usually, you have to, obviously, when you enter a roundabout, you give way to things that are on there already. But yeah, I don't know how to put it, Jesse. It's just one of those ones where it's like, why do you need like 4 different names for them? But apparently, it's because over in some states they go like 40 mile an hour around them or something like that. It's like, how on earth are you supposed to find any gap if traffic's going 40 mile an hour around such a thing? Which I guess is what's 40 mile an hour in kilometers, Jesse? For our
40 mile an hour in kilometers, that would be about 68 kilometers?
we'll call it 70 kilometers an hour just for the sake of rounding. Yeah. We're not gonna be that specific. Tom Bryan asks, has Jesse Lee heard of the Magic Roundabout? I presume Tom means the one in Swindon in the UK, which has 5 mini roundabouts with orbiting around the central one. Have you seen such a thing, Jesse Lee?
I know the particular crossing that you're on about, and it is just the most absurd
Have
thing.
you navigated it, Jesse?
No, I've not. But I will say it is quite absurd. The craziest thing that we do here is that as we're about to see a pass the 199 of Rombach being able to finally get around.
Yeah, sorry,
Agudelo.
Travis. You watch this back and we're talking rubbish.
No, listen, we're calling the action. Rombach in front of Agudelo. That move had been coming for a couple of laps. He's able to get it done, and dare I say, in the interim of those two cars racing each other like they were, I don't think Agudelo raced him quite as hard as he possibly could have done. He simply realized that he's going to have a run here. Don't block him into Murray's, and he didn't. And now, because of that, because he was able to facilitate that so well, he's right on the back of Rombach. If Rombach makes a mistake this time through, it could go back the other way. We're talking about tractors. We're talking about roundabouts. We're talking about the existence of mini roundabouts, which to me, I thought was a joke at first. I had never seen a mini roundabout.
The perfect junction for when traffic is coming from roads which have got equal priority.
And I'll tell you something else. There are a lot of Americans that are red light and signal supremacists. They love that there's four-way stops everywhere. I absolutely hate it.
I hate
It's the silliest thing in the world. Oh, and it's been a silly moment here for Bram Agudelo. Let's take a look at just how this happened. A car pulling off of the road. I didn't see that in the previous shot. That was just them getting out of the way. What happens here? Oh, just gets a little, the car gets light. Oh no, it's the curb. It was the curb that did it. Oh, and he saved it. He's safe.
Yeah, that's to say that's probably about 2 seconds of damage, but most of it's in the side in anyway. One of the lessons you have to learn very quickly around Bathurst, particularly as you're going down the hill, the skyline into over the crest and down into the S's, you can get so well caught out if you just time your braking wrong, because obviously you brake as you crest or just before you crest the skyline, so you tend to, if you time it wrong, just carry a bit too much speed, because obviously the car's not, what do you call it? It's like the attitude of the car or something like that. It's not, you time it wrong, the attitude of the car's wrong, you end up going really slow. As we see Marvin Stiff, and this is the car that you just saw, that orange car that just pulled off on the Agudelo replay. So maybe he's having some technical issues in real life rather than with his car in the game, which is while he's just pulling into the pits just to find somewhere safe just to get it sorted, or just getting his pit? I think he's already, oh no, he hasn't had his pit stop yet, so he's just getting rid of his mandatory now. So yeah, maybe looking at what's up with his rig as well. Jesse Lee, is there anything wrong with his rig? Killing two birds with one stone, as they say.
Yeah, talking about spaghetti junctions. By the way, thank you, Tom Bryant, for becoming a channel member here of RCI TV. Thank you so much. And yeah, you do get emotes with that, I've just realized. So enjoy your emotes and all that. And
well done for spamming off RI in the chat.
Yeah. And he used, Tom Bryant joined us as a supporter, and immediately as Marvin Steer rejoins the race after that pit stop, he uses it to immediately call out Snooty McFlude's livery for the day. And I guess we'll take a look at it. I don't see anything too crazy.
I don't see anything offensive with it.
Who doesn't like taters? I think that's more in reference to the one he runs on, what is it, Monday, isn't it? Or what? No, it was last week's, actually. I just realized. It was last week's with the mouth and the eyeballs and the everything is how I'm going to refer to that.
Well, Tom Bryant is DTing liveries, which don't need to be DT'd. So we should Uno reverse card that DT and give it to Tom Bryant instead.
I mean, I'm not going to disagree with that logic. Bibby's talking about spaghetti junctions. I think America
definitely trumps the UK.
America has the only, what is it, 5 or 6 tier spaghetti junction in the world. It's in Texas, or no, it's not in Texas. Where is it? I forget where it is.
I don't know where it is, but we don't have any, like, what do you call them, like cloverleaf interchanges? Because they're massive. They are. I haven't really seen the ones on the scale in the US. Like Gravelly Junction, which is Spaghetti Junction. I forgot what junction it is on the M6, but it's just inside Birmingham. I think it connects. Well, obviously, if you go on the M6, which is the main carriageway of it, you don't see any of it. You don't realise you're going through Spaghetti Junction unless you're like on one of the lower levels, so like on the Aston Expressway, which goes into the middle of Birmingham, or it's one of the A roads. I forgot where it was now, but either way, it doesn't. One of those. But it's certainly infamously one of the weirder junctions we have in the UK. But I think America just tops the UK in terms of exuberant junction design for motorways, or we call them freeways.
Beg pardon?
We call them freeways.
Freeways, highways, interchanges, interstates, byways, depending on where you are.
A flyover is, Jesse Lee.
A flyover is like a bridge that goes over an intersection.
Yes. Yeah. Do you have them in the States? Or?
We do. When you get the further out west you go, the more likely you are to encounter people calling them that. We wouldn't call them that here.
What would you call them then?
I actually don't know. I think we just call them bridges. I've never.
The bridge over the junction.
Yeah. There's also a thing called a breezeway. Do you know what a breezeway is? Yeah.
No, I know what a breeze block is. I don't know what a breeze
block is. A nice building block. Yeah. But a breezeway is typically referred to as a pedestrian open-air walkway above a traffic area, whether that be, cars or what have you, trains, whatever. But a breezeway is typically a foot pedestrian or a pedestrian bridge. And I think that's pretty unanimous for most places and most things. I hope everyone's getting a nice education. You can't say we're not educational here at RCI in the slightest, because
we try our best.
We certainly are. The race does continue. Benjamin Heilman enjoys a several second lead on Jordan Daly, who may or may not be carrying a little bit of damage. Bibby said earlier that whoever crashes into him today is going to get sent the bill for repairing the PC. Those are high stakes. I know what a lot of...
You know what's in Jordan Daly's PC now, don't you?
Yeah, I know. Those are some nice components he's got, and also IT work.
IT support doesn't come cheap these days.
Yeah, it is not cheap, so I do not want to be the guy. I'm so happy this is one race I'm sitting out, because my luck, I'd be the one to hit him.
Oh, right.
And then he'd immediately hit me, but that's not the point. The point is, I don't want to be on the hook for all that high-tech Daly has in the car. Let's take a look at this car. I was worried that maybe there was some damage on this car. I don't think there is any damage on it. I think he's getting Lamborghini'd.
I'd say he's probably getting Lamborghini, but I'd also say that Daly's probably just taking his time. He's got no... I think Bathurst is one of those tracks where, you know, you're racing yourself more than the car, than each other and other people, if that makes sense, Jesse. I think we alluded to it at the start.
Oh,
of the
for
stream,
sure.
As Daly just takes a little bit. I think he was a bit loose through the chase there, but yeah, like it just takes one mistake when you're not looking. When I say not looking, not paying attention, and you can just end up in a wall. As Verstappen's found out, and he's only like, where is he, Jesse? He's even behind Shelgren, who's still leader of our pitted cars. He's not too far away from Wilkinson in P10 at the minute, but I'd say current pace, he's probably looking good for like a top 4 position. I think Heilmann's pretty much, commentators curse aside, probably doing a very solid job, and probably is on very good money to win today. But Shelgren probably may have the pace for him to try and jump up into P3, but I think the pace is probably not quite there to try and jump someone in the second. Puig currently in P3, he's just done a 20.2019, so yeah, Shelgren's probably, I'd say, good money for top 5 without chancing it, but yeah, he timed some of these really well actually, because Wilkinson's just coming to the pits now for his mandatory stop. It's obviously mandatory stop today, only a litre of fuel, but suspect there's going to be some people who will be repairing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds of damage, maybe, Jesse Lee, rather than a typical just stop for 3 seconds for refueling and then off you go again, as rejoined Christoph Verstappen as he's making his way back up the field. He's got the 195 of Partes in front of him now. We'll see just how much legs this Audi has. He comes out the slipstream. Partes staying to the right hand side of the track to try and get some sort of defense into turn 2, but yeah, that Audi's a bit too vast down the straight, Jesse Lee. Or I think he just lifted there, because I just noticed a little bit of the flash of the hazards there, the international thank you sign, in my opinion. But yeah, so maybe Partes has just recognised there's no point holding up Verstappen, just let him through. It's going to happen at some point. Might as well just let him through. Still got half an hour left, and I don't back myself to hold him up for half an hour. And next up in Verstappen's sights is Joe Dorber's 777 Honda.
Yeah, Partes doesn't gain anything by holding up Verstappen. He realizes Partes is in the same race. He realizes what lap times he's doing. Have you seen something?
Oh, Rampak's gone off the track, and just coming into pits now to service mandatory. Had a bit of a moment coming out of the chase as I was just going through all the pits, all of the drivers, Jesse Lee, as we see him just come through the chase now. I think he's caught the exit curve on the left here. Yeah, there you go, just lose control of the car. Completely, well, I'd say completely avoidable, but yeah, sometimes you can just, as we said before, like, you just think you got a handle on this track, and you just get a little bit overconfident with your exit speed, so you just end up understeering as he did there into the curb, and sadly for Yannick Rampak paying the price for it.
You can have the opposite. No, well spotted you. You can have the opposite of that too, quite easily, where you get a little bit too relaxed, and it can happen to anybody out here running up in front of this field. You get a little too, it's not necessarily confident, but you're not up on the wheel anymore, because you're not fighting for anything necessarily, and you begin to relax just a little bit, and that's a dangerous thing, because then you start to lose concentration. You go on autopilot. A lot of times autopilot is a normal thing that a racing driver will do. It turns into muscle memory, and it's fine. Here though, if you are sort of half paying attention, it can go wrong in quite a hurry, and you do typically worry about that. Just reading chat as usual, and has Daly told you about my PC? No, Ash, he hasn't, as far as I'm
spaceship
aware. Yeah, do you have a spaceship PC? I know you have a good one, and I know you're the go-to guy for
Daly's go-to.
Yeah, he's Daly's go-to guy, but actually I'm not quite sure what your setup is. Please share with us if you would like to do so.
Everyone else is free to share their setups in the chat as well.
Yeah, mine's pretty standard. It's several years out of date now, but there's no 30 anythings in mine. They're just 20s. I got a 5700 and a 20 and a computer with a 2080 in it. It's a TI, admittedly, and an XT, the AMD card. But
I've got 1070 one.
1070 is the card that will not die. You know what I mean?
Well, touch wood.
That card won't die. Also, you could have used that, what, 6 years ago, and you can use that today. That card is timeless. We will look back in the annals of history so fondly at the 1070 because of how timeless that card has been.
I should point out to people who have ATIs that we're not sponsored by NVIDIA in any way.
We're not sponsored by any of those folks. We don't have any sponsors, but you know we do have some fantastic partners.
Sponsors, though.
No, we don't.
Sorry, yes.
We've got partners over at digitalmotorsport.com. Your one-stop shop for all the sim racing hardware, all the top stuff from all the top brands. And while you're at digitalmotorsport.com, use their sim rig builder. Build the sim rig of your budget or your dreams at digitalmotorsport.com. Man, they really do run the gambit on what they offer in their catalog over there.
Run the gambit?
They've got everything.
Okay.
None of my Americanisms are working today.
No, they're really not with me. Sorry, I mean, I threw one out there, but I think it's more of an international one. Killed two birds with one stone before, but I think that's more.
Kill two birds with one stone means work smarter, not harder, though. Run the gambit. Run the gambit means have it all.
No, well, kill two birds with one stone to me means literally do one thing, do one action which achieves two goals. If that makes sense, Jesse. Or more than one goal.
It does. Do you know what else makes sense? Getting driver coaching from Driver 61. Whether you're looking for one-on-one driver coaching or full-on racing schools, Driver 61 has you covered, and you can save 25% off your one-on-one coaching by using our discount code in the description of the video. It's worked for several of the admin team here at RCI. It's improved their lap times, and it's kept people from laughing at them when they're on the racetrack. Thank you to Driver. As much as that.
Who's that?
I'm not going to call them out, but they know who they are. Thank you, Driver 61, and please do take advantage of that 25% off your driver coaching. Lovely folks, lovely staff over there at the Driver 61 operation.
Very well. Good segue, Jesse. I nearly caught myself sighing on the mic then when you did that.
Well,
John Dalton would be proud.
I hope he would. Well, there's nothing going on.
Or are you going to say that you taught him all he knows?
No, he started it, admittedly. Okay. John Dalton was the original. He started it, and I was like, I can also do those things.
I can segue.
Yeah. By the way, folks, we've lost the number 11 car. There was contact with Joe Dauber earlier on in this race. Let's see if we can't take you back and show you exactly what happened here. This is the 11, the Welsh driver who has retired from the race, and oh boy, that was a biggie.
I think Dauber had a bit of a run on the left-hand side, and yeah, I think the Lambo just didn't see him there through his little thing. So Ramback, I think he's retired from this race now. Probably had more than just an average of like 5 or 10 seconds worth of time to repair, probably like in the 30s or something like that. So it didn't look that violent an accident though, definitely. But you know, surprises can happen. So we jump on board again with Verstappen here, coming through the what do you call that now? The dipper, isn't it? And then we're into Forest Elbow here. Just the amount of braking you have to do through. There's a little crest as you come through the corner before there. Be so careful. You brake too soon, you end up going too slow through the corner. You brake too late, you end up going to the barrier of the exit.
Oh, what's going on in front of these two?
I think that's Kevin Boss who's being lapped here, so just getting out of the way. Nothing exciting there yesterday, but yes, we see next target for Verstappen is Joe Dauber. He's right up behind the Honda now. Joe Dauber saying in the chat before the start of this race that this is well, he used a bit of an expletive, but he said this is a very sketchy car. And, I've seen a few times he's had a little bit of things here and there, but nothing too egregious for himself, should we say. But yeah, time to test himself against pole setter Verstappen. Trying to throw any 11th place, actually.
Yep, trying to fight for it, trying to get some of it back. And Verstappen is not the kind of driver, not the kind of human being that's just going to give up on a race just because it's gone wrong. I will, at the end of it, or if things remain calm, I will try to find exactly what happened to Verstappen to cause him to be in that situation, because when we got the replay, and that's as far back as I could go at the time, he was already into the wall prior to that, and don't know if there was contact between him and Heilman or if it was a unforced error. Either way, it has completely ruined Verstappen's race, and it's probably ruined his championship hopes. And if anything, it has cemented Benjamin Heilman's championship validity. He came in with a 1-point championship lead. He's definitely going to leave with more than that as we get to the end of the champ next week. Oh, a tight move here as they come through Skyline and down through the S's. He thought about doing it and he just stuck his nose in, did Verstappen. He was wondering if Dauber was going to give him the lane. Verstappen and Dauber they race on the same track a lot, but they don't race each other a lot. And Verstappen doesn't understand Dauber's tendencies. If he would have asked me, I could have told him, Dauber's not going to give you a spot for position, regardless of how quick you are. He's going to make you earn it, and that's what you saw right there.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think you were right there. Verstappen probably testing Dauber through Skyline a bit there, seeing if he'd get out the way. As now he's trying to see just putting his nose in. Sometimes I think sometimes he has to be a bit careful how he interprets some of those moves. Sometimes, and I do this quite a lot, where you're not actually moving to the inside line to show your nose. You're showing it just to see where your braking point is. But that time definitely Verstappen using it just to get his nose in there. Dauber's giving him the room. Coming into Hell's Corner now. This should be a very elementary pass for Verstappen on Dauber, and it is. But Dauber may try and come back. He's got the slipstream on the Audi, but it's whether the Honda, infamously very powerful in a straight line, probably about, you say about 2 years ago, Jesse Lee now? I feel old saying that, but yeah, Honda doesn't quite have the legs to try and get past the Audi on the straight.
Sideways there was Dauber trying to dig.
Yeah, I think Jesse Lee, that's that sketchy setup in action there from Dauber.
Couldn't agree with you more. It certainly is living up. Dauber called it on his own car, and I could definitely look at that car and tell it is something amiss there, certainly. Now, that being said, though, Dauber has caught up. Was it a bad couple of corners for Verstappen? He was pulling away, but right back on him now is Joe Dauber. I can only imagine Verstappen missed his apex in one of the park corners and had to get out of the throttle because it was about this gap, and then it went down to half of that. No harm, no foul. I can't see any damage on the Verstappen car, so I don't think he's gotten to the wall a second time. I just think he had to get out of it, and talked about that in qualifying, didn't I? About how that's so important through the park section. You have to be perfect, because if you're not, you got to let off, and you just hemorrhage time doing that, because some of these cars, a lot of these cars, and a lot of these setups can do it pretty much flat out or almost flat out. And anytime you have to modify that to slow up, to not put it in the wall, you're literally losing tenths, and in some cases maybe even a second, as Dauber gained the better part of a second, in that section. So case in point there, you got to be careful. You're never safe around this racetrack.
No, and I was gonna say last time I drove around here was in the old Porsche. So this is like 1.8 now, but I remember that being intense, and that was on my mostly of a section to myself. It was one of those ones where I'm just used to just lifting or braking through McPhillany Park just to get the car around, and with that old Porsche, was it 991? I think it was. Like the McPhillany Park, you're having to not like go flat deep through the corner, but you know, it's one of those ones where if you touch the brake pedal, it's just a death sentence, because the car just is set up just to on the limit of balance. So yeah, it's one of those ones where if you set up your car just to be fast in a straight line, but teetering on the balance of under control and out of control, then you are going to see those little fluctuations in gaps every so often. And I think Verstappen there probably just about caught one of those moments. But as you said, no harm, no foul. So that gap, and he's pulling away quite handily now. The gap's already 1.6 as he continues his chase down, next up down the field to see Fluid in 10th place. Probably not effectively for P10 come the end of this race, because obviously I'd say everyone up to P4 will probably be behind this group of Shelgren, McFluge, Verstappen in the end of the race as we join on board with the near the back of the cars yet to pit. Raphael Huel 7th and Agudelo in the 496 just ahead of the Audi, and just ahead of them is lap traffic. That's the Lamborghini of that Wilkinson ahead, or I think it's Wilkinson actually ahead, isn't it, Jessica? Oh no, it's Svenich. Yeah, Svenich in the number 8 Lambo just ahead, you can see, and then just about, you can just see in the picture, the pink Mercedes of Zoricic there. He's been pretty handily for himself. He's only P5, well he's P5, he's started like P8 or 9, so pretty impressive race for Zoricic so far.
20 minutes left to go, and I paused dramatically there so I could say it directly on 20. 20 minutes left to go in the race. The top 8, that wasn't me not knowing what to say. That was me going, I wish Phil would have talked 1 second longer so I could have not.
Well, I did that on purpose, just to throw you off. I'm on the professional end, that. Sorry.
Very well done, and very well done for most of the drivers in the field today. We've had somewhat minimal incidents, if we're being completely fair to everyone here. 19 cars, normally a bit messier than it has been. We've seen a lot of good passing and some good battles to boot thus far, and we're about to see another one. The top 8 still yet to make their pit stop. They have until the pit window in the middle of the top of the screen runs out, so that is about 18 minutes from now as these cars continue to battle for position. Everyone here in this picture has yet to complete their stop. Joachim Shelgren is still leading the cars that have pitted. Verstappen, who had that incident, came in, made their stop. They've been steadily progressing through the field. They are 3rd in line of the cars that have, which should put them right about 6th or 7th place. If they can get around McFluge, they may be back inside the top 5, and that would just be incredible pace. How is it possible he's back in the top 5? Well, Verstappen's just that good. Number 1, he's an esports driver after all. And number 2, a couple of the cars in the top 5 have had issues, as we've shown you in some of the replays we've had today.
I've been bracing myself for a segue, Jesse Lee, and every time you're doing that one, I was half thinking, oh, he's going to do another one now, but yeah, it's been pretty good from Verstappen and Shelgren, actually, to be fair to both. Dorber's not done too badly either on his recovery drive. I think Dorber's had a bit more damage to worry about than Shelgren. I think Verstappen as well. We didn't see how much damage it was, but it certainly looked a lot from the... didn't see the crash, did we, though? But it looked quite significant on the what do you call it, on the replay when we saw some of those scratches. As this fight between Agudelo and Huel looks quite tasty now. I think I thought, to be honest, Huel would have had a little bit of a run on Agudelo. He had a bit, I wouldn't say he hesitated behind the back marker before, but I think Huel just needs to try and get a good exit through a Forest Elbow here, and yeah, try and. He's got this long straight now down the Conrod to before the chase, and just your exit through Forest Elbow can be quite critical as Agudelo now just pulls away from this Lamborghini now, definitely just coming down into the chase. We'll see the curve as we turn left, and then finally, turn right and then turn left here. Want to avoid the curve, that raised curve on the inside. Probably just kiss that little flat curve and then try and avoid the exit curve on the left as Brambach found out. Finally into Hell Corner. Well, Rory's caught, actually. Need to get a tram up at some point, Jesse Lee, for this track, but yeah, pretty good from them as Raphael Huel pits now with just under 17 minutes to go.
Pretty decent move. Realize that they've been sort of locked in a battle for a while. They're not going to beat them down the mountain or the Conrod, so probably better to come in, do the pit stop, try to beat them out that way. And if you don't, hey, you still have some time to work on that gap. Pretty standard pit stop for Raphael Huel in the AGS Events liveried car. Down and away. Didn't look like they needed to repair anything. Didn't look anything out of the ordinary on that stop. They will rejoin the fray. They will do it behind Christoph Streppen, though, who is up another couple of positions. Huell goes from 7th to 11th for the time being. But do bear in mind, many of the cars have yet to pit. Some of them might be carrying a little bit of damage too. And Huell will likely link back up for that battle near the end of the race with Agudelo. That leaves us with just about 7 cars left to pit in the race. Dos Ramos for Tier Sim Racing Esport, the last car to have not done their pit stop, and that noise tells me that Phil Roberts has saw something.
No, the little bit of gravel when you changed camera there. So I think it's not just had a Agudelo. It's in the Sven. Oh, it's Svenik, so it just had a little bit of an off coming through the S's there, Jesse Lee. I was just expecting a Lambo facing the wrong way. Usually when there's somebody going off at the S's like that, you usually find a spin not too far away, but no anticipation got the better of me that time, and it didn't happen, but sorry.
Evening, folks, says Net Raxer. Hello, good evening to you, and welcome in to the final stages of the Friday Roulette Championship here on RCI, the brainchild of Benjamin Heilman, who currently leads this race, and the event manager, Bart Macha, just doing a little fun mid-summer championship, normal Friday sprint championship service to be resumed in the fall, I've been told. I also know the rumblings of a new night out season as well, and I can't tell you, I don't think, but I already know what the next Monday champ is going to be as well. Unless I'm very much mistaken.
Revealed, though?
That's on them. That's on the event manager. They tell me when I can tell everybody else. But I've seen the rumblings of the fall lineup, and it's looking quite good. And of course, we will bring as many of those races, or many of those series, I should say, to you as we can throughout the fall.
Hopefully we should generally don't quote me on it because I'm stressing the word should, but we should, after a 2-month break, have live stewarding back for at least the main Monday and Friday champs back when they start again, certainly for split 1. There's obviously only one split and everyone gets live stewarded, but yeah, if there's multi-split, then they'll still be as what we are now, post-race stewarding, which is what these guys are running at the minute. If there's any incidents that happen, we're not going to see any penalties on the screen. They're going to be sorted out after the race, subject to if the driver prepares a report or not. But I haven't, as we said before, it's been a fairly clean race. I don't really suspect there's going to be many, if at all. In fact, this championship so far, we've had 0 reports across 2 races just at least so far. So either it's been a very clean championship, or the drivers haven't been that bothered about the incidents they've been made to report.
I think it's the latter. I don't think the drivers in a mini championship like this, where the rules are sort of fun and they're quirky, I don't think the drivers, it's not that they don't take the racing serious. They absolutely show up to play and they want to win and compete. But you're more likely to let stuff go in a championship like this. Now, when the Friday Sprint Championship comes back in a few weeks to a month, whenever that may be, that's a different story. You'll get reports for that every week, because that is a 6-week, 7-week championship that the rules are fairly standard for that, or at least we assume they're going to be fairly standard for that. This completely different. The vibe is different, and I think a lot of these drivers are like, if it goes well, great. If it goes not great, I'll get them back. I'll get them back later. Maybe I don't give them enough room, or maybe I don't give them extra room next time. Something like that.
Retaliatory driving is something we don't really encourage.
Yeah, that's why I backed up my I don't mean to say that there's retaliatory driving. What I mean to say is that you put that in your memory bank and you let it go. You don't fume over it and then create an incident report. Is the difference in a championship like this?
Usually when we've seen retaliatory driving, it's usually followed up with something a lot more severe than a DT or an SG10.
Usually after retaliatory driving, you never see that driver again. In RCI is what happens.
At the most, at the very least, it's a championship kick out or a race disqualification if it's accidental. It can be looked at as accidental, but a lot of the time the stewards and the admin teams have a very dim view to that sort of stuff.
And don't get
odd
Phil
segue.
started on hitting the pit board.
I think that's just more of a rule. I mean, I'm just one of those ones that doesn't really care if it's there or not. But no, I think we had one. It's not naming names. We had one during World Tour who served a DT issued by the stewards and then took out the pit board quite obviously as a sign of frustration and was like, oh, I didn't have another DT for that one. So, then obviously I think some people use it as a reference point, don't they? Like, they see the pit board, they know where they need to hit the limiter. Some people spend the time working out the braking points, like, oh, this is the, like for a corner and stuff like that, Jesse Lee, like every corner, some drivers use certain permanent markers to decide where to brake. The same for like your entry into pit lane if you can find them, or some places like Suzuki just surrounded by black white barriers. There's no reference point at all. As we see Verstappen now trying to move through. I thought that was McPhilly Park. I got a bit what do you call it, excited then for a minute, but no, just through turn 2. So fairly. Again, an elementary pass there for
You hear that, Verstappen? Not impressive. You should have done that at the other end of the circuit.
It's still impressive. It was all around the outside. Don't put words in my mouth, Jesse Lee. Don't put words in my mouth. I didn't say that bit. I just said it's not as exciting as go around the outside of McPhilly Park, which is what I thought it was. But still go around the outside of turn 2, pretty good.
Verstappen, what Phil's trying to say is that was a very mid pass. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just kind of mid.
It's like A B tier. It's not S tier pass, but you can. I think solid A B tier pass is still pretty good. Are we rating everyone's overtakes now because this sounds fun?
I mean, you can do as far as the broadcast is concerned. If you're interested in doing something like that,
you'll join in with me, chat. You're gonna grade the chat, grade the overtakes as they go on, so then I don't feel like I'm on my own being a judgmental person.
Something happened here. Marvin Steer gained a position, and we're gonna see what happens to the car in front. Oh, that's what happened to Partez. Partez in the blue and gold BMW, and that's what happened. Partez into the wall in the park section. Was that Reed that he got into the wall? I'm unsure, but into the wall nonetheless. And up to 13th place is Marvin Steer.
Yeah, I think, was that now turn 7 or turn 6, that one there, Jesse Lee's one of those right-handers. You can't see the
apex. That might have been
of the
Sullivan
turn.
Park then.
I'm not sure which one it was. It was the very first park.
There's 4 parks. It was one of them.
Yeah, it's the first one, I think, because it's like 2 turns after the cutting. But either way, it's a blind apex, right-hand turn. It's not quite flat unless you've got the setup for it. But yeah, it's one of those ones that you can easily get picked out on if you just carry too much speed, which I think Partez, by the looks of it, just carried a bit too much speed, and then the rear end just met the barrier, and then that's all she wrote, basically. As man who hasn't seen a barrier yet.
You're playing with fire. You are playing with fire.
Playing with fire, but might as well while I'm racing everyone's overtakes. I'm playing with fire doing that, to be honest. But yeah, Benjamin Howman, P1, still fairly solid and good money for his lead, I'd say. 7 minutes to go as he passes the line. I'd say we've easily got about 4 laps to go, I'd say, Jesse Lee. When next time, at the line. So next time Heilman comes round, there'll be 3 laps to go. Jordan Daly is now 9.5 seconds behind Heilman, so still within striking range if something disastrous happens. But yeah, unless something like that happens, we're probably not going to see another interchange. But that may happen, Jesse Lee. They've still got to pit. There's still Bathurst and the barriers, so there's plenty of things that can go wrong in the next 6.5 minutes.
Right, you are. Finally was able to get a look at Ash Bibby's spaceship of a PC, and can confirm that is an absolute spaceship of a setup. I'm digging the skulls. I will admit, I'm a skull person. I'm digging it.
Well,
Very
we all
nicely
have
set up.
skulls. We all have a skull yesterday, so
That's true. We all have one. Well, some of ours are.
some of us have more than others, but
Yeah.
we all have one in our head at least.
For instance, I'm all forehead. Some would call it a 5-head,
All four. Oh,
maybe a
right.
6-head. It's all in the forehead. You could bounce a
Well,
laser beam off of my
Right.
big forehead. But yeah, I dig the setup, Ash. 10 out of 10. If we're rating everything tonight, I'm gonna rate that setup. That's a 10 out of 10. I like it. I like the lights. Looking good.
You rate it 5 heads.
I rate it five big foreheads out of 5. Yeah.
Moving on as we see Stefan Kui come down the straight as Jesse Lee decides to move on as well.
Well, I'm
We've
giving
spoken
shine
on
to Bram Agadello and Dos Ramos, a fan or a teammate or potentially a team manager of theirs in the chat.
He's got to see his boys on the chat.
You know what I mean? We got to give like you're in here rooting for your boys. We respect that. Here is Abel Dos Ramos for Tier Sim Racing, having a pretty steady day, all things told. And you've got Bram Agadello directly in front of him up the road by about 6 seconds.
If I'm being honest, Jesse Lee, an unspectacular day at Bathurst, I'd take, to be honest. Then well, an unspectacular top 10 is something I'd take before the start of any Bathurst race. I'm not the biggest fan of racing around here, and that's purely because I'm awful around here. So yeah.
I love racing here because despite my inability to be elite level in speed in ACC, despite that, I can compete somewhat in the middle of the field here simply because I don't crash the car, I don't make mistakes, and eventually everybody else has a breaking point. So,
well, everyone has a breaking point. It's, usually it's a pole or a curve or a cone.
Well, if you want to improve your braking points, you can get a Go Setup, gosetup.com. They have setups for all the new racing BOPs and, yeah, the 1.9 cars. So if you're looking to improve your lap time and get competitive immediately, you can do that. They got esports setups and safer alternatives for everyone else at Go Setups. And as always, I always say that we see you guys using Go Setups, or using our link anyway, to make purchases from Go Setups, and we definitely appreciate that. Keep doing it. Go Setups is a fantastic resource to have, and I can't go a single day around here without somebody saying, hey, this Go Setup worked here, this Go Setup did that, comparing lap times and all that, and quite favorably indeed. Quite favorably into the pit lane is Benjamin Heilman, the race leader, qualified P2, and hasn't really looked back after the Verstappen incident, and that was as standard as a pit stop as it possibly could have been. No dramas there, no issues whatsoever. They'll rejoin the fray, and they will not even lose the lead. That's how big it was. But also, Stephen Kui into the pit lane. Now, something has happened here, because Jordan Daly is repassing Stephen Kui.
He pitted.
Yeah, but that shouldn't have happened. Jordan Daly was up into P2.
Yeah, he's back in P2 now, Jesse.
Yeah, but something happened to Jordan Daly.
I don't know what you're trying to say, Jesse. It's what's the gap to Daly and Heilman?
Well, it was Heilman. It was Heilman, Daly.
Yeah, he
and
had
Kui.
about 9.5 seconds, so he's lost about 5 somewhere. But that could just be in the pit lane. But he's still ahead of Kui. He's still got like a 5th.
Oh, did Daly pit already?
Yeah, I literally just said that.
I'm not listening to you, and that's where
I know.
went
I
wrong.
know. Basically, from experience around here, nobody listens. So
What?
I'm used to that. Yeah, exactly.
Stephen Kui
Right.
was into the pit lane this time. Jordan Daly apparently pitted a lap earlier, and I missed it. Heilman
He
is
did,
down
yeah.
and gone from the pit lane. Bam Aguadello in and out of the pit lane. Dos Ramos in and out of the pit lane now. No issues there. And that should just about complete the cycle of pit stops. Shellgren back inside the top 5.
And I have noticed as well, Jesse Lee, he's only 2 seconds behind Kui. So where's Heilman at the minute? We've got one more lap. When they've got one more time to come round, I'd say. Shellgren and Kui currently going over Skyline at the minute. So What's that, about 1.5 laps?
I can tell you, Eris has said in my ear that this is the final lap of the race, but that's absolutely not correct. There's going to be one more lap to go, and I think the game's AI is thrown off by the fact of everybody pitting quite late. So this is actually the last lap of the race. Heilman takes that flag, and he's got to make it around one more time. Daly in second place, Kwai in third. Shelgren, who I was mentioning, is back up into fourth place, and I have never been more right on my math ever. I said Verstappen might be on for top 5. He is exactly 5th.
I think we both said before the start of the race.
Yeah, but I'm not listening to you, remember?
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, hey, Phil, you want to do something? Kevin Boss will never watch this far into the video. You want to say something nice about Kevin Boss real quick?
I'm trying to think of something nice. I mean, fair play to Kevin. He's had a tough race.
Oh dear.
He's still sticking. Well, you're being mean to him, Jesse.
Well, I mean, I would hate if I hit the replay just to show him going off again. I'd hate if I did that.
Well, he just mistimed his braking point. Everyone does it. It's just Jesse's being mean, Kevin. If you're watching this back, So
no,
I'm never mean to anybody.
Kevin Boss. Speaking of Kevin Boss, he's in the front of the shot. Kevin Boss, handsome man, has fierce competitor on the racetrack. Excellent. You can tell he's a great pilot because he's still a pilot, and that's how you can.
Is that how they're rated?
Absolutely. Have you ever seen a bad pilot? They don't exist.
Well, you clearly have not seen me do flight simulator. So.
Oh dear. Kevin Boss, lovely hair, lovely human being, and driving the GTR around here, trying to make it work. Won't be last, mind you, because there were 19 cars that took the flag today. Will get 17th, and he won't have to do another lap as he allows Benjamin Heilman around. He qualified P2. He was steady Eddie the entire race. He was your championship leader, and he's done nothing but bolster that today. Benjamin Heilman wins again here on Friday Roulette at the Mountain.
I'm going to say a fantastic copybook race from Heilman there. Breaks the curse of the leading a majority of the race to win the race. Jordan Daly comes P2. Very impressive still from Jordan Daly, as I think Quee's going to finish about 2 seconds ahead of Shelgren. Just about see Shelgren next time when he comes around this corner here. He's about 2 seconds back, but still I think Quee's had a few I'd say unfortunate races, so like full credit to him going back to come P3 this race, and Verstappen as well. What a recovery there, Jesse Lee, just finishing the top 5. John Razor P6. Haven't seen much of a race of this race, but fairly solid. Same with Snooty McFlude, very solid P7, and Zorzic started P8, P9, finishes about P8, P9. So fantastic work there, and rounding out the top 10, Fuel and Dorber.
Several cars coming to the line. Oh, is this out of fuel? Is Bram Agadello out of racing fuel on the final lap of the race? Absolutely creeping through the chase and up to Murray's corner.
He's going downhill now. He's going downhill now, so
he is.
He's in top gear as well, so you got to put that clutch in there. If any of these people had their clutches bound, it wouldn't be that bad. But he's having to fight the gearbox as well, Jesse Lee. Where's the line? He's got to go uphill for this.
Partez is doing something amazing. Shades of the Cars film. He's gonna push Agadello across the line. In real life, this is illegal on the last lap. In RCI, I'm going to allow it. That is brilliant sportsmanship there between the two drivers. Partez pushes Agadello, who was out of fuel, across the line. You love to see it.
Well, they didn't do the line though, Jesse Lee. So it's the only thing that didn't make it a 10 out of 10 moment. It's just I wanted Partez to put that in the chat. The rating moments, yeah.
Oh dear. Well, folks, the results of the race confirmed. Benjamin Heilman wins it over Daly and Quee. Your podium today, and Shelgren and Verstappen rounding out your top 5. What a fantastic race it actually turned out to be. Significant passing by a lot of cars involved, and just a fun race. Didn't have the one big incident necessarily. There was the kerfuffle after Hell Corner on lap number one, of course, but beyond that, just some pretty good racing here out of the competitors.
Yeah, this track is not for the faint-hearted if you drive an ACC, and full credit, we've only lost what, two drivers this whole race, so yeah, full credit to everyone really to have even finished this race, and yeah, some fantastic races, some great comebacks from Shelgren, Verstappen, and from Dorber there to all come within the top 10 after what looked like a race over it, particularly for the Shelgren and Dorber after turn one. So yeah, some great drives all around.
Great drives all around. None more happy than Benjamin Heilman, who will take a championship lead into the final race, and barring some incredibly unforeseen misfortune, might win the championship that he designed. Jury's still out on how we feel about that.
Well, I wasn't listening, Jesse.
Well, folks, it's been a fantastic day here on RCI. We've ran a Bathurst race that was quite interesting to watch. And if you want to get involved, you can join us anytime at any championship in progress or yet to be started. All you got to do is go to racerci.com. And from there, you can see all the events. You can join the Discord, sign up, and get involved. And while you're getting involved, why not use the best equipment that you can get? Fanatec is the leader of all of the equipment that you can possibly get. They are the industry leader, so to speak, and they've announced some new stuff over there. In fact, quite recently, go to fanatec.com, use the link in the description, check it out, and I believe they still offer the $199 base whenever you bundle it with a wheel and a set of pedals, I'm pretty sure, as well. So go and check that out over there. A big thank you to AK Esports for their help. We wouldn't be possible without them. Thank them for providing their the servers and all of that. They help us with our weekly series. For more on how AK Esports can help you with your esports event, go to akesports.it. Go on then. Have I said them all? Have I got them all, Phil? Were you listening?
Maybe. Did you get Bulbasaur?
Pardon?
Oh, nothing. You said you did get them all.
All right. Well, that's going to be just about it from us tonight. We thank you all for watching. Thank you to our new channel members, Bibby and Tom Bryant. Thank you all for watching the race today. Daily, by the way, giving props to Go Setups. It was a 1-2 for Go Setups. Both the winner and second place were on Go Setups today. So, go and check them out for sure. For myself, Jesse Lee, joined by Phil Roberts. Phil, thank you for being here today, and thank you for doing the long haul duty with me, just the two of us in the chat. Monday Champ will be back on Monday of all days. Can you possibly believe it? And we'll be back with you next Friday for the conclusion of Friday Roulette. More championships going to be announced sometime soon. Normal service resumed this fall, of course. And until then, thank you all for watching. And until next time, have a good night.